So, in your point of view, what is race and what is racism and how has it shaped American history?
Race can be defined as any group of individuals or human beings who share similar characteristics, physical traits, cultural backgrounds, same histories. And racism, I would describe it as the prejudice and discriminations against people of different races. So typically there is a narrative where one race sees itself as superior to another and the other as inferior. So we have a history of racism in America, and it's not even a history, it's a current outline in America. We have this all everywhere, it's everywhere. It's in our everyday lives, it's in our education, it's in our media, it's in our implicit biases, it's in our conversations, and it's in our thoughts. We can't escape it, but I feel like we can do much more to contain it and not necessarily use it, but eliminate the negative effects. People may see racism as outlining and defining the differences between people, and that can necessarily be a good thing because we can use those differences. It's okay to be different. It's not amazing to be the same as everybody else. It's okay to be different. So we can use those differences, outline them, and embrace them, and use them to our advantage.
I think it's like hard to say because, or I feel like you can't talk about race without talking or at least thinking about racism, because like race, like yeah, it's a social construct, but it's also like, the way I see it is kind of like, it's not just like people's phenotypes, it's also like the history behind like how people have treated them or like their cultures or like the oppressions that are integrated into it, and that's kind of like, you know, bleeding into the definition of racism. So for me at least, like seeing like race and racism, they don't really, like it's not possible to have like a mutually exclusive conversation about either of them. That's how I see it.
I did experience one little bit of racism. I would not say it's as severe as what most people experience in America, but it was a little like comment that I like afterwards I felt, and I was like, oh, like it's not all of my people, it's just that one person. But this girl, she was just talking about like Asian drivers and like something along the lines of, what she said was this one kid who was trying to decide if he wanted to come to UCI, he was like talking about like he was going through some like issues, like he didn't know what he wanted to do. And then this girl, she was just saying like, oh, like it's all great, all fun and blah, 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 but watch out for the Asian drivers, they're gonna get you. And I like in the moment, I was just like, oh, like it was just the one person that like fucked you over. Like it wasn't all of us. So I just like, that was a little bit of like racism, but it's not like that was detrimental to my well-being as like a person. Like it's not like that negatively impacted my life. It was just a little comment that was kind of just like, ugh.
If we're looking at racism and a more social aspect, then socially, like I experience racism on a daily basis because with looking at the social aspect, that mostly involves the prejudice that we have against one another, and that arises from like our differences and whatnot. And walking around on a campus with only 1.7% of the population that looks like me, I'm going to get those looks, I'm going to get those thoughts, I'm going to get, be made of a threat of just walking. And within that 1.7% of people who might look like me, they really don't, because I consist of a even smaller population of people on this campus who are biracial and who consist of like more than one race aside from white.
I feel like acknowledging that those stereotypes exist for a reason, but also understanding that those stereotypes sometimes bury the diversity of a certain group. Yeah, I feel like people just need to be more open-minded and know that, like, even though there's a stereotype about a certain group of people, that doesn't pertain to like the entire group, but that's just up to each individual person.
I think the first step is talking about it. I feel like there's too many times in our society where we want to hide from our issues and act like they don't exist. But even within our own communities, we face these problems, and it's so many times where we just ignore them to where it's not, like with colorblindness, for example. People think that, you know, race doesn't exist, but it does, like I was saying earlier. But it's, once again, ignoring the fact that it has those implications in real life.
Everyone says, someone will make this country better. Someone will fix our problems. Someone's going to do it. I have hope. But we need people that are willing to say, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to fix some of these problems. I'm going to do the thankless work and spend years of my life pushing for those changes. And I personally feel like I'm one of those people. When I meet people that also feel a personal responsibility to make that change in this country because of who we are, because of a certain, whether it's good or bad, skewed idealism of what it means to be American, which in my opinion is plurality, is a mixing of stories, of untapped potential, and even of pain. That's something that I've seen in people that I've met that gives me more hope to dedicate myself to what I'm doing. And meeting those people every single day in class, seeing them laugh and cry, but come back day after day after day to still talk about it, to dedicate their time. Like you're dedicating your time to doing this documentary right now, that's what keeps me going.